Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Aragon Community Call of July. My name is Isabella, and today we're going to present several news and other developments that the Aragon community and the Aragon team has been developing. So this call will be recorded on the YouTube channel. So I invite everyone. So in case you want to take notes afterwards, or you just won't be able to join the entirely call, everything will be recorded on your YouTube channel. So also I invite you to subscribe to our channel as well. So for today's call, we have a lot of guests. So we will start presenting with Nate Williams, from the Aragon Labs team, the Vocdoni Ballot Protocol. We also have a demo of Aragon Govern that I know that's very, very much awaited for the whole community. Ramon Canales, our product lead, will also present that. We'll have also a sneak peek on our Aragon Transparency Report with Alex, who actually hosted the call from June. And last but not least, we also have, some content hall presenting some of the latest blog posts that we have in our Aragon blog, presented by Andrew Rich. And once again, we have some cool announcements by the end of this call as well. Q&A. The Q&As, how it works, it will be also by the end of each session. So I invited you to during the presentations, just post your questions either on the YouTube live chat or in the events Discord channel. So if you aren't on the server yet, just go to type aragon.chat, and then you get an invitation to join our Discord server. Okay, so let's get started then. I would like to introduce Nate Williams, from the Aragon Labs team, that will present about the Vocdoni Ballot Protocol. Nate, are you there?
Hello. Working on sharing my screen. Okay, all right. Can you see the slides?
Let me see. Yes, we can. Yes.
Wonderful. Okay. So yes, my name is Nate. I'm on the Aragon Labs team, and today I'm talking about the Vocdoni Ballot Protocol. This is a piece of our core OpenStack, which is a system for decentralized online voting. It's used in Voice. It's also used it's used in Aragon Voice. It's also used in Vocdoni Plaza, and includes slight overview. Just includes a layer 2 blockchain for voting called the voting blockchain or VoteChain. So the Vocdoni Ballot Protocol itself is a simple yet powerful specification for the representation of ballots and results for any voting process in this system. And what that means is that basically any process that's created and any votes that go through, as they are declared to the blockchain, they're tested against the ballot protocol and made sure that all of the parameters are valid. So I'll just dive right in. The way that we represent a voting process with regards to the ballot protocol is we define a process as a set of fields. So you can see fields A, B, and C here. And for each field, it may represent a question or it may represent an option to a question. More on that later. And each field then has a predefined set of values that it can be assigned. So for example, right here, we see the available values are 0, 1, and 2. So for each ballot, each of the fields can be assigned one of those 3 values. And then ballots, of course, each ballot, which is a vote that any user or voter would cast. A ballot is an array of natural numbers, so any number from the set of values that you've set for this process, where each index of the ballot represents the value that you're assigning to that corresponding field. So here you can see that the ballots are color-coded to match the fields of the process. And then finally, we have results. The results is a two-dimensional matrix of natural numbers, and it contains information about every single vote cast. So in the first dimension of this matrix, we have each field. And then for each column in each field, we have an index representing the value. So of the three available values, 0, 1, and 2, they're represented at indexes 0, 1, and 2. And they simply record the number of votes that that value got for that specific field. So for example, ballot 1 for field A gave the value of 2. So that might mean, I don't know, I'm choosing candidate 2 for the first question, something like that. So then this in the results matrix gets recorded as we increment the value at field A, value 2. And now we record that there has been 1 vote for that value. So that's generally how processes are represented. And then for the protocol specifically, when you're creating a process, there are 7 variables that you need to think about. And this is where the ballot protocol really becomes very flexible and also very modular, in that all of these values can be set however you would like, and they determine completely how the process will act. So you can see here we have max count. This is the maximum number of fields in a ballot. So again, that might be the number of questions, or if it's a single question poll, that might be the number of options per question. You set max value and minimum value. These are, again, here we have available values. So minimum value would be 0, maximum value would be 2. So you don't have to set all of the individual ones. Unique values is specifies that each of the values must be different. So for example, if unique values was set, ballot 2 would not be valid because it has 2 different zeros. And this is useful in the case of like ranking different options where you don't want to repeat any given value. And then we set max total cost and minimum total cost, which is the total cost of all of the values added together for a single ballot. Cost exponent, this is a parameter that we use for quadratic voting. Quadratic voting is somewhat beyond the scope of my presentation today, but it's a really interesting and kind of newly really exciting form of voting that I will drop some links to, and if you have questions, I can answer more about it. So just know that there are a lot of other kinds of voting beyond the standard, one vote, one person, one vote models that we're used to, that the ballot protocol enables. So yeah, and the important thing to know is that these values, you set them when you create a process, and once they're set, they're immutable. So this is permanent, and any vote that's cast to the blockchain is going to be measured against these values. So for example, if we set unique values to true, and then we cast this ballot that doesn't enforce uniqueness, this ballot will be rejected by the blockchain, and no ballot will be registered. So that would be, I don't know, like a client bug or something like that, or if you're not using the client, if you're directly using the API, basically it's enforced that at the protocol level, everything must be correct. Okay, so that was sort of the general overview of what the ballot protocol looks like. And I'm going to run through an example right now for fun. So this is an example. Let's say I own a candy store. And I'm hoping to do some user preference research because my candy store is failing because we have really bad flavors. So we want to make a new type of lollipop, and we're choosing between asparagus, beans, carrot, or dill flavored lollipops. And one of these must be picked because we know that one of these is like the key, our business is going to blow up and be very successful, but we're just not sure which one. So we want to do some user testing to determine which one of these is the best flavor. So we're sending out some samples, and we're using Vocdoni. We're using the ballot protocol to have a voting process where they can submit their rankings of which flavor is the best, which is the worst, and so on. So what process configuration should we use here? Well, this is a perfect use case for ranked choice voting because in this case, we don't want to give each flavor its own unique ranking from 0 to 5 or something. We really just want to know which flavor is the best, which is second best, and so on. So we can rank them essentially. And this is a voting type that is used in the real world in governmental voting sometimes, but also could be used in a context like this. So here's how we would set that up. This is a single question where we want to assign a separate value to each option, because it's just one question. What do you think about these candies? And then each candy is a separate option. Each flavor is a separate option that we want to assign a value. So that means we want to use a field to represent each option. So there are 4 options, which means we want 4 fields. So we can set the max count variable to 4. Because there are 4 fields and we want to rank them from best to worst, we need 4 different values. So we can set minimum value to 0 and maximum value to 3. Unique values that I mentioned earlier, we're going to set that to be true because we want a clear ranking of the different flavors. We don't want a tie for best in a ballot. We want each user to pick which is best and like what's the clear ranking. So we need to set unique values to true so that they can't say, okay, these 2 flavors both get a value of 3. And then finally, minimum total cost and maximum total cost. We don't strictly need to set these here because just by setting min value, max value, and unique values the way we have, it's determined that each ballot will have to have a value of 0, 1, 2, and 3, which will necessarily add up to 6. But just for clarity, we can set the cost variables to be 6 as well. And then cost exponent is just 1 because we're not worrying about quadratic voting. So this is what that process might look like in a more visual representation. So the available values are 0, 1, 2, and 3. 3 is the best flavor, 0 is the worst, and we're enforcing unique values. So each of these 4 fields, asparagus, beans, carrot, and dill, each voter or product tester or user, however you want to define it, will need to assign each of these fields a unique value from our set of available values. And that will be sort of a ranked product rating for user testing. So here's what a sample ballot might look like. This user loves carrots, so the carrot flavored lollipop, they decided is the best flavor. So they gave that a 3. And then next is asparagus, and then dill, and then beans is the worst flavor according to this voter. So you can see here, again, I've color coded it. So hopefully that's clear that in the ballot, each index is its own field. And then in the results matrix, the field kind of expands to be its own row to record each and every vote. So for asparagus, for example, this voter is giving asparagus 2 points, meaning it's the second best flavor. And then in the results matrix, that's getting recorded in index 2 as just incrementing the tally there. So we have a tally of, okay, 1 vote for index 2 of the asparagus flavor. Everybody following fine? So at this point, we could leave it here. We could accept more ballots and then have a big results matrix with a bunch of tallies of the different votes. But the problem is that there's still sort of another step to make this human readable, because if all I want to know is which flavor has the most votes, I don't want to have to, every time I look at the results matrix, manually multiply, okay, this is a vote for 2 points, this is a vote for 3 points, add them all up. So this is where we get to results aggregation. This is actually a bit of a detour because it's not part of the ballot protocol itself. How front-end clients, so app or web app or whatever you're using to interact with the system, it's related to how they will display the process and the results. So it's really sort of it's not part of the core protocol. It's like an additional element that we need to think about. And the 2 results aggregation types that we have defined so far, at least, are indexed weighted and discrete values. So indexed weighted is a situation where the aggregated results represent the sum of values for each field. So this means that, like the example we're discussing right now, if you have a field here with index 0, 1, and 2, where the index represents the value of the option, and it's sort of a linear, like assigning points, assigning a weight to a discrete option. Here, the aggregated results we would represent just by multiplying each vote tally by that index, and then making a sum of that, and then recording the total result value for that field. Oh no, what's going on? Okay. So discrete values, on the other hand, is kind of the opposite. So for discrete values, we're assuming that rather than the index of a field representing like a weighted value, the index of a field is a discrete value for that question. So for example, the index might be a separate candidate where like you have candidate A, candidate B, and candidate C for this field, and it doesn't make sense to multiply those by anything because they're completely separate options. So rather than recording some like weighted total, in this case, we would, in discrete values, we would just record the winner if there's a winner, or we would say 0 if there's a tie between multiple options. And this is useful for any process where each field is its own discrete question. So multi-question, single choice, single winner, where a field is a question and you can represent the winner by just a single, okay, this candidate won. So clearly what we need right now is index weighted because we have a one question process and each option is a field, and we're trying to get a weighted value from each of those fields. So this is what that might look like for our example process for the candy store. We have our results matrix with 50 or so sample votes that I've added. And then we have the aggregated results. So the first field here is asparagus, and then beans, carrot, dill, as you've seen. And here we're saying, okay, asparagus got 8 votes for 0, 4 votes for 1, 7 votes for 2, and 11 votes for 3. And we can simply multiply each vote tally by the index. So 3 times 11 or 2 times 7, add up all of those values, and then we get the total cost or the total points allocated to that field. So as we can see, when we do the math and add these all up, dill has received the highest number of higher weighted votes. So we're not just looking at, okay, who got the most top rankings, it's who got the most highest ranking plus weighted towards like the second place and third place still matters. So it's because this is ranked choice, it's more complex than just, okay, who got the most votes. Yeah, so this is basically how we would aggregate those results and then have a much more easily human readable, okay, dill got the most points, dill wins, and we're going to make dill flavored lollipops, and our candy business is going to do so well because everybody will love this flavor of lollipop. Yeah, so zooming back out, hopefully you like see how this example has worked and how it works with the protocol. I want to get across the idea that this protocol is really flexible and open. And sort of the idea behind it is that we can predefine voting types beforehand if we want, but in the end, it's really this composable set of variables that you set. And who knows, if you think of a new type of voting that we don't know about, maybe that's quadratic voting, maybe it's the next version of quadratic voting, we will be able to represent that, or at least we hope to be able to represent that in this set of 7 variables that we've set. And yeah, so it sort of can expand in the future to account for whatever types of voting the community wants to use. This is available through, the protocol is available through clients, meaning that the web clients, so Vocdoni Plaza and Aragon Voice, they use the voting blockchain, which implements this. Only some features are implemented on those clients. So for example, I believe quadratic voting is not, and I think ranked choice is not. But this protocol is also available through the API. So if you wanted to, you don't need to use the client at all. You could just write your own program or write your own client and use the voting blockchain API and play around with this protocol yourself. Yeah, that's all for now. I can answer some questions if you'd like. Not sure how we're doing on time.
No, it's everything's good. Thanks a million, Nate, for the presentation. Someone in the chat just commented like maybe like the community that voted maybe doesn't have like a good taste on candy, but yeah, that's fine. I wanted to ask you, while we are waiting for questions from the community, I want to ask you, so the example that you presented, there was pretty much like one question, but you also mentioned there is a possibility like to use for multiple questions. I wanted to ask, is there a limit of number of questions that we can set using the ballot protocol?
Yeah, so the current limit on the number of fields is 100. So that's basically I mean, that's the current limit. There obviously needs to be a limit, because if you had 7 million fields for a question, that would be hard to process on the blockchain. So that's the current limit. I mean, we'll see if there's a use case that needs more than 100 questions on a single poll. I would be surprised, but we could look into that. But in addition, you can like say you had 200 questions that you wanted to poll people on. You could also simply create 2 voting processes.
Sure. And second question, how do I get access like to the protocol? How can I have access like to the documentation, like you mentioned, and just like test it out?
Yeah, so I can send some links in the chat. We have this presentation is sort of a presentation form of a blog post that I wrote about the ballot protocol itself, and that goes a little more into detail. And then we also have a documentation page where you can see documentation on the protocol, and then you also can see documentation on using the API and find your way to the client to use the protocol as well, if you'd like. So I'll send some links when I'm done presenting.
Perfect. Once again, thank you, Nate. It was a really great presentation. So next up, we'll have the much awaited, or at least like for me, the Aragon Govern, which is our V2, and we'll have Ramon Canales, project lead from the Aragon team, to present a sneak peek on how this will look like, and probably say what will be the day that we're going to release. Right, Ramon?
I never like to speak of dates, but well, maybe today we'll have something. Hello everyone. So finally, let's take a look on Aragon Govern, the so expected like new release that we have for you. But before I do the demo, I need to explain a little bit on the concept behind Aragon Govern. So let's start. Optimistic governance, that is the base for Aragon Govern. But before, let's first understand how does DAOs usually work nowadays. How does a DAO makes a decision? So usually a DAO member, a DAO administrator, manager goes there, creates a proposal. What happens then? He asks the members to vote on this proposal. Then he asks again for the members to vote on that proposal. Then he sends a threatening message for the members, like urging people to vote on that proposal. Some time passes, the voting time passes. If the quorum was reached for that proposal, and the proposal is approved, the proposal passes, and then it's available to be executed. This is like the base for DAO governance nowadays. And what are the problems with that? First, the community apathy. Sometimes people just don't want to vote for things. They don't care enough, although they hold the token, and you can have some important proposals that are not being passed. There's a lot of time and effort into that. You need to talk to people. You need to ask people a lot of times to go there and vote for stuff. And there's a lot of overhead for maybe some really common activities. For example, imagine a workers DAO that just want to pay salaries for a core contributor. Every time someone needs to go there, put a proposal, people need to vote. If people don't care, that person is not getting paid. So how do we fix this? This is where we are proposing this new DAO approach, which we are calling this optimistic governance experiment, which uses something that we call lazy consensus, that I will try to explain for you guys now. So imagine this new scenario where instead of creating a proposal, you just go to your DAO and you schedule an execution to be made. So in the last example, I just go there and say, hey, I want to pay myself for this month of work, my salary. When I'm scheduling this execution, I'm adding some collateral, which can be any token that was configured within the DAO. So it's not like anyone can just go there and start executing stuff. If I believe that I'm right by doing that, I add some collateral to this action. Then there is a delay period for this to be executed. Of course, we don't want people on the blockchain just going there and withdrawing money from a DAO, for example. So there is a delay period where anyone can go there and say, hey, I do not agree with this execution that have been scheduled because of reasons, because this guy actually didn't work, or because the agreement within our DAO does not, like there's no rule saying that people can be paid for their work. Or even in another case, imagine a DAO wants to invest in like ecological stuff and someone is trying to invest in oil. And someone goes say, hey, this does not make sense. So during the delay period, this can be challenged. If no one challenges, it's available to be executed. So it's quite fast for me if I'm like doing the proper thing, just go there, hey, I want to pay myself. Everyone sort of agrees, no one is saying that this is wrong, I can pay myself. Now imagine that I'm doing something wrong and someone at the DAO community, a member goes there and say, hey, I don't agree with this. This is the moment that the execution can be challenged and we create a dispute, which you use Aragon Court. Which I'm not going to explain fully today, but just so you guys understand the overall flow. When someone challenges that execution, this person also needs to add some collateral. After all, otherwise people can just go there, keep challenging everything. So there's always some skin in the game on, hey, I don't think this is right, or I think this is right. When the dispute is created, Aragon Court will draft some guardians, which will be some random jurors that can rule upon that decision. There are a lot of stages during a dispute. Not going to explain this today, but in the end, imagine that does the majority of these guardians rejected that initial execution? So do they approve? No, they didn't approve. The execution is canceled. And the person that scheduled the execution initially will lose that collateral. And the person that challenged the execution will win this collateral. In the opposite scenario, if the majority of guardians say no, it was actually like pretty much okay. The agreement says that people can pay themselves because of their work, and I see here some proof that the work was done. The initial person gets the collateral of the person that challenged the execution. So this is what we are calling this optimistic governance flow. And today what I'm going to demo for you guys is the govern part, just so you have a sneak peek on how can this work in real life. So the govern demo, just creating a little like scenario for you guys to understand. Imagine you belong to a group of DGen friends and you like to discuss some DeFi strategies in a Telegram group. You have many ideas, you guys are investing your own money, but you are spending quite a lot of gas in individual transactions and you guys are always doing the same thing as individuals. So you decide, okay, let's just unify our efforts and let's invest in this together as a DAO. But your group, it's a really close group of friends. You trust each other and you don't want to keep running votes for everything because you guys already discussed that in Telegram. So you just want things to be fast. But you do predict that at some point in time, you want to run some votes if your community grows. So your my first steps as member of this group, I'm going to create a DAO. I'm going to deposit some Ether in this DAO, and then I will do our first strategy, which is just exchanging or swapping this Ether for some DAI. So let's do this. This is Aragon Govern, which I guess you guys are not seeing right now. So I need to change the screen that I'm sharing. I was not expecting this. Just a second. There we go. This is Govern, available now on the Rinkeby version. We can share the URL in the end so you guys can try it out as well. So basically, let's go through the the quick process of creating here. So I click on Create DAO. I need to add an identifier for my DAO. Hopefully you guys are actually seeing something. Let me zoom in a little bit. So a DAO identifier, let's call it DeFi Friends. We can create a new token for our DAO, and since we aim to have some voting in the future with the community, let's create this token. So let's call DeFi Friends token with a symbol DeFiF. And the amount of tokens that I want to create. So 1,000 tokens that will come to me, and I can send to my friends later on. Here we will configure the main parameters of the DAO. So first one, the execution delay. As I mentioned, when you schedule something, there is a period of time where people can challenge that. So in this example, usually let's say it can be a day, it can be some hours, it can be a month. But in our case, I'm adding 30 seconds because this is just an example. You need to set what are the rules of your DAO, what is the agreement, and why is this important? Because if something is challenged, the Aragon Court guardians need some base of documentation that they can rule upon. And this is quite important because it makes quite easier as well for new members to understand what is this DAO about and what are the rules to be part of this DAO. For this example, I will just leave no main agreement has been defined. Here, the resolver, not going into that right now, is just the address of Aragon Court, which means which dispute resolution system this DAO is using. Then we come to the collaterals. As I mentioned, scheduling something or challenging something requires collateral, and you can configure for both actions. So the schedule execution collateral, let's use the new token that I created. So people need 10 of these new tokens to schedule something. And to challenge, I will leave the default one here is 10 DAI, but you can use any available ERC20 token out there as collateral. And here, to safeguard a little bit, you can also define what are the addresses that can schedule executions within my DAO. So you can put one by one, and of course, this can be changed later. Or you can say, actually, my DAO is open for everyone, for the whole community that has these collaterals. Again, this is an example. I'll just leave any address. Oops, token amount, so 10. There we go. Here I can just review all the configurations that I set up for my DAO. If everything looks correct, let's just confirm and create our DAO. Confirming. Let's wait until the transaction is mined and our DAO will be ready. Next steps, I'm going, as I said, going to deposit some Ether to it. And then I will exchange this Ether for DAI using an interaction with a smart contract from Uniswap that is available on Ring-B, but you can interact with any smart contract available in the blockchain. As an extra thing, when you create your DAO, you can also already register your token on Aragon Voice, which we showed in our first community call, our guestless voting system. And Nate just explained how the ballot protocol, which is something that Aragon Voice uses. So let's register our token there as well. And I will show you guys the token registered once the transaction is mined, of course. Let's wait a little bit. Confirming the transaction. It's lovely to do presentations using blockchain, as you guys know, because we need to wait for things to happen. But it will happen. I swear you. There you go. There you go. It's registered. Yeah. So let's take a look at our DAO. And quickly, also, let me just refresh here to show that the token was registered on Voice. So it was DeFi something that I created, right? Here it is. Our token is registered on Voice. I could come here and already start creating proposals for people to vote for free. But this is not our main topic today. This is our DAO. We have the DAO settings, which is, as I mentioned, the things that we configure in the beginning and can be changed. Of course, you cannot just change it. This will schedule an execution to change the DAO settings, and someone can challenge if they don't think it makes sense. But first thing, let me just deposit some Ether. So I want to deposit Ether just a little bit. We can add some references. My first deposit assets. And in the case of deposit, this is not an execution that will be scheduled because, well, if anyone wants to just put money in the DAO, who are us to be in their way, right? Let's just allow people to do that. So I deposit some Ether here. And if we take a look, the DAO Govern executor address, this is like the main component of the DAO, which will execute stuff, and he can also hold funds. So whenever we deposit something, it goes to the DAO Govern executor. And if we take a look here at the Etherscan, you can see my deposit is already in the executor. Hopefully you can see. Going back here, I already deposited something. So now let's do the actual thing. Let's swap this Ether for some DAI. So new execution. We gave it a title so people understand what is going on. Swapping before DAI. The justification, why I'm doing this and why it's important to always add justification. As I said, if someone challenges, if someone takes this to a dispute, the guardians needs to know why were you doing that. Doing because I like it. Clearly a bad justification, but anyway, just an example. Actions, let's add an action. And here, you can add as many actions as you want to execution. So instead of like scheduling a lot of stuff, if you want to do a lot of stuff, you can do all within this one execution. You could withdraw assets, mint tokens, or as I mentioned, interact with any external contract. Let's do that. External contract. Here, the system asks for you to put what external contract you want to interact. I will add the Uniswap on Ring V1. If it's a verified contract, we already bring all the functions that are available within that contract. I'm going to use the swap executor for tokens. I can add the same function many times. I'm just adding once here, and I can add more functions, as I mentioned. Pick this one. So here is the function, and here is the parameters that I need to pass for this function. Not part of this demo to explain this, but basically Uniswap requests some stuff. So what is the minimum amount of the new token that I want to have? 1. What is the path? This is the conversions that Uniswap is going to do. So first we need to convert the Ether to Rapid ETH, and then it will convert to DAI. Where am I sending this to? I want to send the DAI to our Govern executor address, which is the one that holds the funds for our DAO. Deadline, until when should this happen? I really don't care, so I'm just adding a big number because this is going to happen right now. And payable amount is the amount of Ether that I'm sending in this transaction, so 0.01. So we have our action here. You just click schedule. First thing, we will approve some collateral because, as I mentioned, remember, we always need to put some collateral when we are scheduling stuff. So let's approve our new token, the 5th, to be used by the executor. So I will just approve it. And after this collateral is approved, we will schedule the execution. If no one challenges and then the execution is executed, I will get this collateral back in my wallet. So it was approved. Second transaction, which is the actual scheduling of our execution, just approved as well. Just another second. There we go. Our execution is scheduled. Here is the configurations that were used. This is the payload, and we can see here the action. So we are sending an action to this contract with this value of Ether, calling this function with these arguments. So this is available for anyone that goes into the DAO to see what is this execution about. This execution will be available in 2 minutes because of the delay period that I mentioned. Anyone can come here and challenge the execution. Otherwise, it's just here for anyone to see and to be executed at some point in time. Let's just take a look at how does the DAO page looks now that we created an execution. So my internet is not really happy with me right now, apparently. There we go, the DeFi Friends one. And here is our schedule execution. In 2 minutes, this will be available to be executed because no one is going to challenge it. And then I could just go there and execute. Just in order to show how does an execution looks like, I did this yesterday, just so we already have one that is executable. It's the pre-cooked DAO because I cooked it yesterday. I can come to the execution. It's the exact same one I just showed. It's going to swap some ether, 0.3 ethers in this case, and send to this address here, which is the govern executor for this DAO. So let's execute it, just so you see what happens. Just another second. And another one. There we go. So it's now executed. Okay, let me just refresh the screen again. Executed, here it is, perfect, which means that if I come and search for the executor address of this DAO, we should see it's not showing the tokens, so Etherscan is not happy with me, but it should show the tokens, the DAI here that was just swapped on Etherscan. But yeah, believe me, it's here, or should be. So what are the advantages of Aragon Govern? As I mentioned, it requires way less interaction and effort. So for some stuff, things can happen quite more fast. It's based on human readable agreements or contracts, which makes quite easier for anyone to go there and read and understand what is this DAO about, what are the rules to be part of this and to execute things. Of course, it assumes that people know what they are doing and are acting in like a legal way, let's call it, but it does have a safeguard mechanism, which is the disputes, which is Aragon Court. And it's way closer to some real world interactions in a company, for example. So for specific use cases, this can be quite interesting. When is this available? Soon, in a mainnet near you. We will have a clear release date in the beginning of next week, so stay tuned. Meanwhile, please feel free to go and try it out, Aragon Govern on Rinkeby, and please give us some feedback. And that is it for the demo today.
Perfect. Thank you, Ramon, for the demo. It was really great. I'm really excited, and that will be soon on mainnet. And I actually do have a question for you. Maybe I missed on that part, but is there like the execution delay and also like the collaterals? Can they be customized by like the DAO creator or someone?
Absolutely. Yeah. When you are creating the DAO, you set these configurations for your new DAO, but at any point in time, if the DAO members want to change, they can go to configurations, change it. This will schedule an execution that will change the configuration. If everyone agrees, it can be executed, new configuration is there. Otherwise, if someone thinks that's not right, this person can dispute this configuration change as well.
Okay, perfect. So we'll drop the Rinkeby link so the community can test it out. In the meantime, where is the best place that we can give feedback about Aragon Govern? Because I assume you'll be released on a beta version, and then later on we'll work on some iterations, right?
Yes. So just go to our Discord. There is a Govern channel there somewhere. Find it, drop your message. I will be more than happy to answer, and let's together make this product really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm super excited about it. Thanks a million, Ramon. And so like now our next presentation will be with Alex Clayhills. We are going to present about the Aragon Transparency Report. Right, Alex?
We are. Hello, everyone. There we are. Hopefully you can see that, is it?
Yes, we can.
Brilliant. So, hi everyone. You may or may not have seen me in the last community call. So I'll do a quick intro to myself again. So I'm Alexander Clayhills. So I am going to be running the transparency function within Aragon. So looking to make things as open as possible for the community. And one of the big initiatives that we're releasing this month is going to be the Transparency Report. So before we jump into the Transparency Report, one of the things we've done in the last couple of weeks already is we've updated the Aragon Association page. So you can see a little bit more about the Aragon Association there on the Treasury, on the committee members and the advisory board. We've updated the FAQs. And you'll also see the Aragon Association Transparency tab there as well. So when we release the Transparency Report, you will see it pop up there. So don't worry, we'll be doing a notification as well, so you won't need to check every day. But what is the Aragon Transparency Report? So I think the Aragon project has always been transparent and open with most, if not all, of what they do. And this report just aims to build on what's come before. So we're going to release it biannually. So it's going to be for Q1 and Q2, so running from January 1st to June 30th, and including things like portfolio, product updates, financial spending, and a few more topics in there as well, which I'll cover in the presentation. Again, so one of the main things that I think the community was asking for and that we're going to be covering is the portfolio and where is the Aragon project treasury held. I think the Aragon Association's main goal, one of the main goals, is to make sure we protect that for the Aragon project going forwards. So this part of the report is just going to detail where the association is holding the assets and the asset classes, so that the community has details over and some transparency around what we're doing with the assets, and also detail if we do any sort of large transactions as well, just so you know what's happening from a portfolio perspective. We'll also be doing a full financial update section as well, so detailing everything that the association has spent over the previous 2 quarters. Now, obviously, we have the budget DAO, which is brilliant. So you'll already be able to see most of the spending. In there, obviously, running an association as well, there's other spending, which is not in the budget DAO. So we just wanted to make sure that there was full transparency over all finances. So I'm pulling in together all the finances in the transparency report, so you'll be able to see all the spending in Q1 and Q2 in the report. And other highlights in the report. So we'll have a section on product updates. So you can see how some of the products are coming along that have already been released. We're going to have a section on the roadmap. So you'll be able to see some of the things that we're expecting to come up in the next 6 months. Also going to do a section for team changes. So you can see any major team changes that have happened over the previous 2 quarters. And we'll also have a section on governance as well in the first report. As more reports come out, we'll probably add some more sections as well. But in the first report, these are the sort of the key sections that we'll be covering. Again, I'm not going to take up too much time because I just wanted to give you all a sneak peek. But we also have a shiny new email, transparency@aragon.org. So if you have any questions around what's happening within the project, you can drop an email there, or you can find me on Discord as well. Again, report's going to be released this month, so watch out for it. And if you have any questions in the meantime, let me know. And that is me.
Thank you so much, Alex. I'm super looking forward to read about the Transparency Report. You mentioned that the report they'll be released 2 times a year. So I wanted to ask you, so where's like the best place that we can find like more regular updates about the Aragon network and the Aragon community itself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the best places always to go are to the Discord channel, to the forum, the Telegram, to the Reddit channel. I mean, we have so many different channels where you can come and ask any team member any question you have. I think what we're trying to do with the Transparency Report is pull all that information together in one place so you can get an easy to read update every sort of 6 months. But if you have any burning questions, you don't need to wait for the report. You just have to jump onto Discord and ask one of us.
Perfect. Once again, thanks a million, Alex. We are super looking forward to read the Transparency Report by the end of this month. And then to our last presentation, I want to share my screen a little bit and introduce Andrew Rich, which is our senior content writer, and he's going to present a bit like what, like how he has been like doing like content at Aragon, and especially one very good, it's really good article that we just released yesterday, mentioning about like what's like the DAO space looks like right now, and some very good examples on how DAOs are changing the world for better. So up to you, Andrew. Thanks a million.
Thanks, Izzy. Yeah, so I'm Andrew Ridge. I'm the content writer at Aragon. And I've done a few short blog posts, but we wanted to do something a bit more comprehensive. So the blog that you can see now is 15 ways the world is being transformed by DAOs. And this is, it's by no means comprehensive, but it's an overview of the DAO space as we see it at the moment. But yeah, it could have been 10 times longer because the space is just growing exponentially fast. So this covers 4 main areas: communities, community DAOs, finance DAOs, entertainment, and politics. A short bit about politics at the end. So the kind of mental model that we were using is that we had DeFi summer last summer, when there was an explosion of activity and user interaction. But then because of high fees, we've had basically a crypto ice age, which has shut down a lot of projects. Not totally, but they're retooling, they're building layer 2 solutions, and generally learning how to survive in this new environment. We know that it will be solved eventually, but in the meantime, it looks as though things have gone very quiet. But we've discovered that so much is happening under the surface. So it's a bit like this hibernating polar bear, which is about to wake up as soon as the ice thaws, and it's going to make some noise. So basically Aragon was formed to increase the iteration rate of governance. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing experiments in all areas of society, which are transforming and really like overwhelming the legacy systems. So it's exciting to see.
Andrew, I couldn't agree more. I also wanted to ask you, so I was particularly like interested like to see like on the examples and so on. And as a journalist undergrad, I was very interested like to hear more about like the media publishing. I personally love what Steemit is doing. And so by the process that you were like creating this article, and I'm assuming there were like a lot of research that you did, what's like your top 2 or 3 favorite projects that we should keep an eye?
I studied law, so I was really interested in a project called Vita DAO, which is democratizing access to and ownership of intellectual property. So they're building a system for investment into longevity research. So a bit of context. Traditionally, it's pharmaceutical companies tend to be very conservative, and they will they want very efficient processes with very low risk, and that's great for churning out new medicines, but it's perhaps not in every case the best way to conduct research. So VitaDAO are pooling risk and resources to invest in longevity research. And that enables them to research in a different way and to go for moonshots and riskier ventures rather than the safer routes that traditional pharmaceutical companies tend to do. So that's really exciting. And there's so many problems with intellectual property and patents as a system. They don't always work in the best way for society. So I'm really keen to see what those guys do. Another one that is being built on Aragon is a company called ZebPay, and they're based in India, and they're building a women's only DAO, which is fantastic, because firstly there are not enough women in crypto. Definitely we need more women to apply for jobs and to invest in crypto and to contribute to crypto. So it's fantastic to hear about that. But also it's a demonstration of how underrepresented communities can suddenly be in positions of real power and influence, managing large treasuries and making a difference in their own communities. So that, ZebPay is a great example of that, and really shows how DAOs can change the world in a very real way.
It's really great to see that, like, how DAOs can impact the world for better, and especially again to be the voice to those groups that are not very well represented on society. Even though they are very big, they don't have, let's say, a voice that's present that they will be able to hear, let's say, on the mainstream words. So that's amazing to see that that you actually managed to get this research and pulling up some really good examples that we can explore. Thank you, Andrew. So I recommend everyone for some bedtime reading today, or just over the weekend, to have a look on Aragon blog. The link, it's already on the chat on YouTube, but you can also find on our blog, which is blog.aragon.org. Thanks a million once again, Andrew. And so back to the last part of our call. We're almost running out of time, but I still wanted to share some announcements that we have. The very first one, when I'm able to share my screen, is that, so last week we just closed, Gitcoin actually just closed the round 10 of the Gitcoin grants program. And as you probably know also, if you read the blog article that we shared, we managed to found 16 projects on the DGov category. The round number 11 will coming up, let's say, soon. So watch out for that as well, because we'll be also participating on that. And so yeah, congratulations for all the projects that has been funded. It's really great to see, and being able to participate on the growth of the DGov community itself. More exciting announcements. So last month, we launched our ambassadors program, and we've been receiving tons of applications. We are actually starting to answer this first batch of applications by the end of next week, most likely, but there is still time to apply. So just go to aragon.org ambassadors. We'll be actually sharing more news on that page itself, so stay tuned. And the second one is, so if you want to be more involved with Aragon itself, we also invite you to have a look on our careers page, which is in aragon.org/careers, and to have a look on the job positions that we have available, so you can join the fight for freedom with us. So thank you everyone for joining this community call. We hope to see you again on the first Wednesday of August, which is the 4th. And let's keep the conversation going. There is actually on the description of this YouTube video, there is a feedback form that we highly encourage you to answer that, so we can see how we can improve and your suggestions and everything. You can also share your feedback on our Twitter, Discord, Telegram, Reddit, forum. Don't forget to subscribe to our monthly newsletter on Substack. The link is also on our website, and subscribe to this YouTube channel to see the other exciting announcement that we'll have for next month, but maybe like sometime very soon as well. Once again, thanks a million. Hope to see you on Discord or any other platform, and have a great day.